Hey guys, it's aribiterspar and welcome to my RuneScape prayer training guide. Alright, so let's get started with the requirements. Number 1 is have your own house with a gilded altar in it as well as 2 marble burners. I'm not going to be covering things like using other people's houses because if you plan on doing any serious prayer training at any serious level, then you're going to need to have your own house with your own gilded altar. I'm also not going to be covering things like having runners because this is a guide on how to train prayer yourself. Next, you're going to need some clean Marantil herbs. These are for lighting the burners, and there is no set amount that you need because it really all depends on how much prayer you plan on doing, how fast you are, how much you AFK, all the different kind of stuff. However, they are relatively cheap herbs, so it shouldn't be that big of a problem. Next, I only recommend training prayer with dragon or frost dragon bones, depending on how much you could make. This is because if, say, you're a low level that can only make 100k GP per hour, then using normal bones on the ectofunctus to make prayer cheaper might sound like a good idea to you, but in reality it's just making it take such a long time that your time would be better spent bettering your account to make a better amount of money, say 800k GP per hour or 1.2 mil GP per hour. This way you can use dragon bones or frost dragon bones. So if you spent 400 hours doing prayer with normal bones on the ectofunctus, you could have used that 400 hours to make your account a lot better to where you can afford things like dragon bones and frost dragon bones, and your account will be better overall in the end. One little thing I should add in here really quick though is about infernal ashes, and that is using them instead of frost dragon bones or dragon bones. Depending on their price at the time, it could be cost effective to use them instead. However, they also do give less experience, so it really depends on the cost at the time, and if it's a big savings, you have to determine for you whether or not it's worth the loss in experience per hour, depending on the savings that you get from them. Next is some house teleport tabs, as well as an X amount of rings of duelings for the same reason as the Marantil herbs. Also, the last requirement is a tinderbox. For recommendations, I recommend that you wear a Glory 4 or you have a Mounted House Glory. I do recommend a Glory 4 over the Mounted House Glory though. This is because in case you forget your Ring of Dueling one time, you can just teleport to a bank instead of waiting for the long house teleport animation. Also recommend having a Beast of Burden. This will speed up your experience per hour. Best Beast of Burden that you can use, whether it be a War Tortoise or even the Terror Bird or a Pack Yak. My last recommendation is mouse keys. This is because it can help you bank faster, as well as pretty much it just helps you bank faster. They are definitely not a requirement, but I will leave a link to my mouse keys guide in the description of this video. Alright, now let's get to your bank and inventory setup. For the bank, I like having my dragon bones in the top right, with my Ring of Duelings right below that, and right below that my summoning potions. To the left of my Ring of Duelings, I have my Beast of Burden pouch, and to the left of my dragon bones, or whatever bones that I'm using, I have my Marantil herbs. This is so that easily enough when I open my bank, I can click on the herbs and then withdraw the bones and all that good stuff. But we'll get to that later. But that's just the placement that I like having them in. Also, you're going to want to make sure your familiar's left click option is set to interact. This is so when you bank, you can just, well, after you've gotten everything and you withdraw the bones, you don't have to X out the bank and then right click your familiar and hit store. All you do is click on your familiar icon, then hit store, and then you can bank your bones in the familiar's inventory. As well as one thing you probably noticed is I was able to right click and left click and put all the bones in there. That is because when you're in fixed mode like this, right clicking the bottom row of inventory bones obviously comes up with the option right over store all, so you can immediately right click and left click and store everything and then close out of your bank interface and go back to the bank. If you are using mouse keys, then I recommend using them to withdraw the Marantil herbs as well as withdraw the bones from your bank. Real quick, I'll show an example of what I mean. You'd open up your bank interface and then use your left click with mouse keys and your left click on the mouse at the same time on the Marantil. There we go. And as you can see, it just withdrew it real quick at the same time, as well as using the 2-5 option to withdraw your dragon bones. As well as one more thing is, instead of after you all set up with your bones and everything you need in your inventory, instead of clicking the top right X to exit the bank and then clicking house tabs, I immediately just move back over and click on the summoning icon, because that makes you exit the bank because it goes to interact with your familiar. So as soon as you click the summoning icon, you can immediately click on your house tabs to exit the bank and teleport, which I'll show you. Familiar icon, house tabs, teleport, and you're there. Alright, so now that we're at the house, of course we're going to go in, light the incense burners, and use bones on the altar, and we're done, right? Nope, we are not done, because there's a couple more things that we need to discuss, and I'm actually going to stop burning these real quick so we can discuss them. Alright, so basically, how fast you want to get your experience per hour is up to you. You can, one, just use your bones on the altar, and then sit there as they all burn, or you can be a little bit more proactive if you feel like it, although most people probably won't. I figured I should throw it in there anyway for those who do. So just a quick overview explanation of what this method is the way that the game works, a bone is offered every 1.8 seconds if you don't interfere. So what this is when a bone is done offering at the 1.8 second mark, you offer another bone at the same time. So it offers a bone, and instead of waiting a full 1.8 seconds for you to offer another bone, the menu pops up and you can click it pretty fast, and it offers it at 1.2 seconds instead. So every other bone is going 1/3 faster, which adds up over the course of the hour. It is possible to do that with every single bone, however, it's so seriously click intensive with your mouse that I didn't bother to include it in the guide because pretty much nobody would use the method anyway. And then of course there's the regular just sit back and relax and let your bones go ahead and get offered method. Alright guys, so now to list the XP rates. With a pack yak and using dragon bones with the regular sit back method, not anything click intensive, you should be able to get between 370 and 385k per experience per hour. If you do the more click intensive method that I showed, you should be able to get between 420 and 435k experience per hour. Using a pack yak with frost dragon bones, just sitting back and not using the click intensive method, you should be able to get 950 to 970k experience per hour, and using the more click intensive method, you should be able to get around 1,075,000 per experience per hour using frost dragon bones with the more click intensive method. I hope this guide helped or you found it interesting. If it did, feel free to give it a thumbs up and or favorite. It always helps and is greatly appreciated. And feel free to come check out my channel for more RuneScape guides, BK videos, and all sorts of content.